Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and today is October the 26th. I'm going to do your Just for Today in a meditation brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our H.O.O.D Recovery Services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. I am having the pleasure of actually meeting some of you in the Zoom platform for the NA meetings that I attend. And I'm excited about that. So if the chat is on and you're in that meeting, those meetings that I attend and you see me, reach out to me. It's always nice to put a name and a face together. So let's go ahead and get into the Just for Today in a meditation. The path to self-acceptance. The most effective means of achieving self-acceptance is through applying the 12 steps of recovery. IP number 19, self-acceptance. Our addiction has been a source of shame to many of us. We have hidden ourselves from others, sure that if anyone got to know who we really were, they would reject us. NA helps us learn self-acceptance. Many of us find a great deal of relief from attending meetings, hearing fellow addicts share their stories, and discover that others have felt the same way we feel about ourselves. When others share honestly with us who they are, we feel free to do the same. As we learn to tell others the truth about ourselves, we learn to accept ourselves. Self-disclosure, however, is only the beginning. Once we've shared the things that make us uncomfortable with our lives, we need to find a different way to live. And that's where the steps come in. We develop a concept of a higher power. We inventory our lives in detail and discuss our inventory with our sponsor. We ask the God of our understanding to remove our character defects, the shortcomings that are the source of our troubles. We take responsibility for the things we've done and make amends for them. And we incorporate all these disciplines into our daily lives, practicing these principles in all our affairs. By working the steps, we can become people who are proud to be. We are proud to be. By working the steps, we can become people we are proud to be. We can freely tell the truth about ourselves, for we have nothing to hide. Just for today, I will walk the path to self-acceptance. I will show up, tell the truth, and work the steps. That's a beautiful meditation. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Please and thank you just for today, right? What a beautiful meditation. That IP number 19, self-acceptance there's several, but the ones that I'm most familiar with would be this one, self-acceptance, sponsorship, and the triangle of self-obsession. And this is one that I recommend if you go to an in-person meeting that you just grab a copy and put it in the back of your basic text. Put your name on it. Keep it as something that you can reference as other literature to read. We have so much literature now. There should be no shortage of literature to read. And I think that it can be overwhelming for the newcomer. The newcomer doesn't remember when we just had a white booklet that talked about what the program was. The newcomer probably does remember at some point in time if they've been in the program before, when we ended up having It Works, How and Why, the green and gold hardcover, right? So they probably remember when that was added along with the basic text. And then came the Step Working Guide. And the Just for Today in a Meditation had already been released by then, by the time we had the Step Working Guide. Okay. So they may not be familiar with all of the literature, but hopefully, if they've gone to meetings before, they are familiar with the IPs, because the IPs would be set up, racked up, where you could grab the ones that you wanted. And the groups really at that time invested in making sure that those IPs were available because they're for free. And a lot of times the person coming into the meeting trying to figure it all out, they don't have the money to or the connection. At that time, you had to actually use an order form and a check to order to order the basic text. So it was really nice to have these IPs available. But what would happen sometimes, you would get people that had been around the program for a while, and they would take copies almost every meeting. They would take a copy and they would start stacking up their own personal supply. And that's a misuse, right, of our resources. So what I want for you to do is the next meeting you're at, I want you to get your copy and put your name on it. And I want you to keep those in the back of your basic text or various pieces of literature that you carry, if you carry them around with you, in a folder. You can laminate them. Whatever you need to do to make sure that we're being responsible for our resources, and you only need one, right? And you'll always have it. So whenever in the meeting you need to reference it, or you're discussing it with your sponsor or your sponsees, you will always have a copy that you can reference. These are very valuable, and I would recommend that you get them. Now, on to the topic, self-acceptance. And I like this because it talks about how when we first come to the meeting, we're in a lot of pain. And a lot of times we're not ready to tell people who we are in the meeting. We don't even trust them. We might have used with some of them. It might be some resentments. You might see someone that you were beefing with out there or that you owe money to, and now they've made it into the program, and you're not really sure if they're really clean or if they're just sharing clean and living dirty. You know, are they one of those people that are selling pills in the meeting, selling dope to other people, and using the meeting as a place to hawk who might be vulnerable enough to still buy drugs from them. So you do get individuals that are not sincere. But if that is the case, then those are individuals that you definitely need to stay away from, right? There's no conversation. There's nothing to talk about if that's the case, but that's not really your concern. Your concern is how honest can you become? How far can you take the gift of desperation and start talking about the things that pertain to you so that you can recover? And as you become more comfortable sharing the smaller things, you eventually, hopefully, will have a sponsor. You can start sharing some of the larger things. You know, what we want to do is help you with your problem. What is your problem? How can we help? We're not interested in your former connections, your religion, your gender, your sex, your creed. None of that is important to us. And it's only important to immature individuals that don't have the concept of inclusivity. And so no one's going to challenge you on some of those outside issues that you might have. No one's going to challenge you. We're going to embrace what you present. And so I want you to become more comfortable with self-disclosure. Because in that process, you can start trusting the atmosphere of recovery, and you can start doing the work that you need to do. This third paragraph just really details how you become comfortable enough to admit that you have a problem and work yourself through the 12 steps with a sponsor and eventually get to the point where you actually get pretty good at applying these principles in all your affairs. And that's what you want, is to get some self-acceptance so that you can start being comfortable with who you've been, who you are, and who you are becoming. And we have the most perfect will developed for us to be able to do that. For the first time in mankind's history, a simple way has been proven, and it's called Narcotics Anonymous. It's a spiritual program, it's not a religion. It has spiritual principles, and so people sometimes confuse that with religiosity, and that's okay for them to have that confusion, but you don't need to have that confusion. And you need not lose faith when you become rebellious. So this isn't the kind of thing that you get sent to your room, right? Or you get ousted out when you make a mistake. It's not that kind of thing. We generally, if you're not harming people intentionally, physically harming people, verbally abusing people, we're going to say, keep coming back. Keep coming back. Because that is the only way that you're going to be able to get a grasp on this program. Today, I want you to be committed to freely telling the truth about yourself and having nothing to hide. And the way that you do that is by getting free, right? When the only thing that you're promptly admitting is found within your 10th step, you're at a pretty good point where the past is not haunting you anymore. The past isn't haunting you anymore. And so you're not trying to cover up a bunch of stuff, or you're comfortable with who you are. So you don't really, if people don't embrace you, you really don't mind because you are who you are and you're comfortable within your own skin. There is a place of freedom that you can find, but I don't want you to think that it just happens because you hang out with the right people in recovery. No, it's still something, even if you're doing that, it's still something that you personally have to work on. So I encourage you to do that, to find the path of self acceptance and to walk on it, to show up and tell the truth and work your steps. It's really, when you read this, so simple. It's really quite simple. It's not always easy, but it sure is worth it. My name is Mighty Stream, and I've enjoyed talking to you today, and I'm going to be talking to you tomorrow. In the meantime, I want you to have a beautiful day on purpose.